the critical explanation or interpretation of a body of work. We examine the fandoms of young and old, looking from origin to ending and everywhere in between. They say you never truly know someone until you know what they are passionate about. Sit back and buckle up. Welcome to the Exegesis.
What's up? It is Thursday, approximately 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central. Do you know where your kids are? So that's a callback to I believe it was radio that started it. They would have, or no, maybe it was the news, and they'd have that announcement. It's 9:00. Do you know where your children are? And, for the 80s and 90s people, oh yeah, we forgot we had kids. Haven't seen them since they went outside to play at 3:30 when they got out of school. So, hey, what's up, everybody? Hopefully, everyone has had a good week. That is the Inquisitor lightsaber behind me. So, yes, I'm sure there's a red hue in there somewhere. But but hopefully everyone's having a good week. This week has been okay. A little down in the weather, a little bit. I don't know if other parts of the country are like here, but we pretty much just bypassed winter and went straight from fall to spring. The last 3 days, it's been 80 degrees. Been really nice outside. The wind has been blowing. Allergies are up. Pretty interesting, but it's all right. Really looking forward to this coming weekend and the loud ranch trucks that drive by and like to flaunt their exhausts and their larger trucks because compensation is everything around here. At least they have a large exhaust on their truck. Anyway, it really messes with a podcasting rhythm. Hey, this weekend's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be heading up towards Lubbock and will be donning my Inferno Squad gear for a weekend of 501st frivolity. Get to attend Lubbock Comic-Con and get to meet some great people, like-minded people that share a love of cosplay and Star Wars and making people smile. So we have that on the horizon. It's going to be a busy week for work in the next few weeks. Actually, the next 6 months for work is going to be extremely busy, but I will continue to podcast as time and wellness allow. I know I missed last week when I was supposed to have a guest, and the guest decided that was not the greatest times for him to make the announcements that he wanted to make. So we are going to postpone that interview for later on in the year, hopefully around June and whatnot. So stay tuned for those announcements. But yeah, hey, you know what? Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Welcome to the Exegesis. We are a fandom analysis podcast meaning that we look at all sorts of things that people are fans of and get to the nuts and bolts of them. The last one we did was about Legos. So hopefully you guys got to listen into that. If not, you could always check out the replay on YouTube, or you can listen in wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you're confused on where to do that, we do have our bio links. And for this show, just go to bio.link/exegesis, EXEGESIS. And of course, we are a proud founding member of the Red 5 Network. And in order to listen to all the wonderfulness that is there, go check out bio.link/red5. That is RED, the number 5. And you'll be able to listen into all the great shows that are there. So, yeah, hey, welcome again. Cheers to you. Man. Also found out that I thought I had already posted the Star Wars podcast day audio version online, but for whatever reason, it either didn't save or whatever. So the gentleman at the Star Wars Podcaster Day said, hey, been looking for your show, haven't seen it yet. So thank you to them for the reminder. It is up now. So if you want to go back and listen to it, we covered the Mortis arc. And it was a good time. Had a good discussion, about an hour long, on Mortis and what it is and how it could affect us. And of course, our live chat is up and well. We have Cam Ray that was first in the chat. So yes, you win, but of course, just like whose line is it anyway? You are awarded points, but the points just don't matter. We have Ro from Scare Scuttlebutt is in. Spencer is in as well. Don't forget, Spencer, hound Steve over at Rebel Rock Radio. I think he has a free shirt for you. If not, tell him I sent you, and I'm sure he'll get that free shirt in the mail. Oh yeah, he does owe Bub a sports car. All right, well, we'll have to remind Steve of that as well. And Ubaldo is here in the chat, the original party starter. Thank you for joining in, Ubaldo. Really appreciate it. But yeah, man, I'm just, you know what? If I ever make shirts for the Exegesis, I'll make sure that you get one, Spencer, just to make up for lost time. But, hey, while we're looking at it, let's get into some news. All right, this week in the box office, man, I'm telling you, we had some, well, we did have a movie drop in the last couple of weeks. It didn't fare too well. I don't even think it got the number one spot. But yeah, so this week we'll start with number 5. It was The Beekeeper. I guess this week it made just over $5 million for a total of $56 million or so. Number 4 on the list for this last week was Lisa Frankenstein, which made $5.6 million, and this was their first week to open. And we also had number 3, Madam Web, opened up with a $8 million send-off. I'll get to that in a minute. Number 2 on the list was Argyle, which has spent several weeks out in the theaters. It has racked up so far $31 million, almost $32 million. And then the number one movie this week, Bob Marley, One Love, which brought in right at $18 million. So, yeah. Yeah, I really don't know. Spencer mentioned that heard Lisa Frankenstein wasn't good. I really don't know much about it other than it was a new movie this week. The movie that I did know about that came out was Madam Web. And I don't know what it is about Sony making superhero type movies, but they just can't get it right. Yet another another addition to the failed thing. They should just sell their their comic book movie rights to Marvel. Now Marvel's not getting much better, but they are at least almost making. They're not really losing too much money, but they're not making it either for Marvel. Whereas Sony is really losing money. One, when you have a star such as Dakota Johnson as your main role, and their highest credit is 50 Shades of Grey, and you're counting on them to rake in the money for a superhero movie, you probably should have rethought that casting. But just further proof that Sony really has no idea what they're doing with comic book movies. I know that they have these properties, and I know that they want to do something with them, but they would make more money selling those rights back to sell the whole movie rights back to Spider-Man, Madam Web. I think they have the Hulk, and there's a few more that they have. Carnage, that if you sold it to Marvel, you would make more money than you're making at the box office with these movies. I don't understand. I just don't understand it. And Spencer mentioned rumors about Spider-Man 4 behind the scenes. I'm not really sure which one this one is that you're referring to. I don't know. Is that the one that they're having with all the Spider-Man again, including Tom Holland? Because I thought they were supposed to go back and do some more movies with like Andrew Garfield, but I really don't know. I'm not positive on that. But another thing that is coming out and that's already been mentioned in the chat is Dune Part 2 is coming out in theaters first here in the United States. I believe UK and the Netherlands, they get it streamed first rather than the movies. I don't know. I still have to finish the first Dune. I fell asleep during the part 1. I tried watching it 3 times. Each time I fall asleep in it. I just can't seem to make it through. But I don't know. It should be interesting. Yes, Spencer, I know that you are a Dune fan. I really enjoyed the book. Um, but every time that they've tried to make the movie, I just couldn't get into it. Uh, but well, Cam doesn't fall asleep to Dune, or don't fall asleep. Well, yeah. Uh, um, Madam's mom, or Adam's mom. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm glad to see that some things just don't change, and I'm still glad that Cam and Adam are enjoying each other's moms. It's, yeah, makes my heart feel good. But yeah, what else is in the? Let's see. Yeah, so Dune 2 is coming out March 1st in theaters. Let's see, Netflix in UK and Ireland. I thought it was Netherlands. It's Ireland that they're going to have it available first. I'll check it out. I'll try it. I'm gonna, maybe if I start Dune early in the morning, that I'll get there. But anyway, I don't know. I also saw that there was one thing. Was that a clip that, what's her name? Not Adam's mom. Tom Holland. What's a girlfriend that's in Dune? Um, Not Sabrina. Zendaya. Anyway, she was wearing some sort of weird costume. I don't know if that was from the movie or if that was just trying to get attention, kind of like a Lady Gaga kind of thing. I don't. I haven't been online much, so but I remember seeing something like that, and people were talking about it. Even my kids were like, "What in the world is she wearing?" And I don't, or not wearing, I guess. Um, but yeah, you know, uh, uh, weird stuff. Weird stuff. Kids these days, I tell you. I don't know. Oh man, what else is going on? I was going to look at see what was new in music, but every time I tried to look up new in music, Bob Marley's "One Love" came out, which is he does have iconic music. Between that and I guess this week also there are some really well known records that were released. Nirvana was there. Yeah, there was a lot. Let's see if I can find that again. Let's see. All right, so yeah, Nirvana, Nevermind, Primal Scream, REM, Out of Time, 10 from Pearl Jam, Blue Lines from Massive Attack, Use Your Illusion 1 from Guns N' Roses. This is all like 1981 songs that came out around this time. Primus, U2, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica Black Album. Yeah, there's lots of good music released around this time in 1991. Right. Yeah. Oh, I thought that was New Kids on the Block. That's a May the Force be with you from Cam. Cam, thank you for stopping in. Really appreciate it. But yeah, man, there's 1991 was amazing for music, especially if you enjoyed rock or alternative grunge. I guess you could say that was the birth of grunge metal. I believe I had all of those, and I believe that was the last time that I would get the Columbia House, tape a penny to the card and mail it in and mark off your 10 selections. Then they'd send you the cassettes. I think that was about the last time that I got those for the cassettes. Not too long after that, CDs really started taking off. So yeah, great times, great times. Ooh, Spencer saw Disturbed in concert on Monday. Disturbed throws a great show. I loved seeing them live. I wasn't sure how David Draymond was going to sing live, or if it was more of a studio sound with his voice. But what you hear in on the radio is how he sounds live. Very, very impressive. Yeah, I saw them. I guess it was I think it was an Ozfest back. Oh, it would have been what, 2001, 2002, somewhere around there that I saw them. So yeah, good times. Love concerts. Don't get to see too many as I live out here in the desert, and people ignore us out this way. Perhaps if I ever move closer to Dallas or Houston or a larger city, I'll get to go to some more concerts. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll have to start listening to some newer music because the bands that I listen to are getting old. And who knows, they might not be touring around. And if they're really good, when I used to see them for $30 a ticket, now it's like 175 for the cheap seats. So, but yeah. All right. So I guess that's enough chit chat and stuff. We probably should get to the main topic. The main topic today, of course, is Star Wars video games. So you guys there in the chat, while we cue this up here, what was your favorite Star Wars game? Just go ahead and enter that in. I'll start posting them up. Also, what was the worst Star Wars game that you've played? We're going to go through a list. We're going to go backwards from 10 to 1. We're going to look at one bad, one good, all the way down the list. And so let's bring it up. And I'm going to try to do this. We're going to try to make it make sense. And I'm going to leave off some of them because not everybody played on the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy Color. This will be more of the more mainstream games, console games, maybe PC games, rather than some of the lower titles, even though that they might have been worse games. But just to give you a brief rundown, let's see, where are... all right, so I guess the first video game that came out for Star Wars wasn't even Star Wars. If you can imagine that, there wasn't a Star Wars game. It started in 1982, and it was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. and there really weren't too many games that were out there. We had that one. We had Return of the Jedi, Death Star Battle that came out in 1983. Star Wars X-Wing came out next. That was 1993. And that's when we started getting a lot of the Star Wars games. So there was only a couple that lasted or that were in the 80s. Most of them came out starting in the 90s. Spencer, really appreciate you. This might be his D&D night. I don't remember. But hey, don't forget to check the replay so that way you could hear the lists. Really appreciate you coming in. But yeah, 93 had some, 95, 97, all the way. Where is my, for whatever reason, my screen does not want to scroll. But yeah, man, we've had, there's just been so many games. So on with the list, since my computer decides it doesn't want to do what I want it to do here. We are going to go with number 10. This one is going to be Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Title Star Wars Clone Wars Republic Heroes. This game came out and it was supposed to be the latest, greatest exploration into the Clone Wars TV series. It was supposed to tie in with all that, give you a little bit more backstory. And they decided to go with a 3D platform style, kind of in the vein of Ratchet and Clank. The jumping was not helpful at all. Most of the time you ended up falling off the platforms right to your death, and you'd have to start back over. It was very repetitive. The combat was atrocious. They had a tutorial system that didn't really teach you anything, and it was Yoda that was teaching you, and it was just so repetitive that you just got tired of listening to Yoda and you just turned it off. It just was not a really good game. And I like the Ratchet and Clank series. They just they did well with the 3D platformers. This was just like if you ordered a Star Wars Ratchet and Clank and this is the Wish version, just was not good at all. All right, and then so that is number 10, Star Wars: The Clone Wars Republic Heroes. Number 10 on the good side, not the light side, just the good side, because we all know that the dark side is better. And this was Star Wars Dark Forces. Came out in 1995. It was on MS-DOS and Mac. So you know it's an older game when they say, hey, what console was it on? Oh, no, it was on MS-DOS. DOS-based game. Very, trying to think of Doom, Wolfenstein. So it was a first-person shooter, and yet it was possibly one of the best that was there, made up for no multiplayer feature, with really good graphics for the time. Level design was amazing. It gave you a good challenge, but was not so difficult that you couldn't get through it. And it was also the first game to feature Kyle Katarn, a major character that will be in Star Wars video games to come. So there's number 10 on the good side, Star Wars Dark Forces. I remember that game. That was once we figured out that Doom and Wolfenstein were able to work at the in the computer labs at school. When Dark Forces came out, that was the next one that got installed. And yeah, absolutely amazing. All right, so number 9 on the bad side. This one is Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. So this was the third in the franchise, and the Rogue Squadron franchise, and we'll get to some of the Rogue Squadron ones here in a little bit. But it was one of the first almost real-like flight combat games for Star Wars. It really made you feel like that you were in the cockpit of different vessels flying around completing missions. Very similar to like Star Fox, but for whatever reason, in this third edition, they decided to take the flight combat out and make it mainly on foot. So you're on the ground for combat. Really took the Rogue Squadron part of it out of the game. You basically had nothing but a blaster pistol if you were on the ground. The camera angle was fixed, and you would the hit collision was awful. So if you're trying to look around, you'd end up walking into a wall or through a wall. Aiming was atrocious, and they did have a auto aim, but it was just always seemed like it shot to the left, and would go for the enemies that were a little bit further down rather than the ones that were right in front of you. And yeah, needless to say, after Rogue Squadron 3, this was the last Star Wars game that they made, and perhaps this is the reason why. So I love that. Hey, Andrew's in the chat. Welcome, Andrew. We're talking about the best and worst of Star Wars gaming. So far, we've given 2 on the bad side, which was Star Wars The Clone Wars, Republic Heroes, and Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. And the one that we gave for the best, number 10 on the best side, was Star Wars Dark Forces, 1995 game that was on the computer. So number 9 in the list here, and I don't necessarily agree with all of these. This is the original Battlefront 2. So 2005, PlayStation 2, Xbox, PC, and was also on the PSP. So yeah, not the later one by EA. This was the original one. It was an amazing multiplayer game back when multiplayer games were just really starting out. It was absolutely amazing. The single player story mode was great as well. It had a little bit of everything for for everyone. Django was involved in this. Tamura Morrison voiced him as the Legion. Um Man, it's just it was one of the first times that you actually got to play with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan from the prequel era. Um, they had their space assault game was possibly one of the best multiplayer uh, modes that they had. It was absolutely amazing. Uh, yeah. So number 9, Star Wars Battlefront 2 from 2005. I love that one. I wish I could. I guess I need to find an emulator or something, and because it's not on the PlayStation store. I think they stopped with PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3, but I would love to play that again. Um, who knows? Who knows? Andrew agrees. Battlefront 2 was fantastic. But yeah, all right. So number 8 on the worst games scale. Star Wars Obi-Wan. This came out in 2001. This game came out, or when it came out, it was the game took place before the prequel series, and the game's combat just was broken right out of the box. It was released on Xbox only, and it was one of the first titles that was out there. And you could tell because not all the buttons on the controller worked on this one, which was really aggravating. The second analog stick on this one, you used it to perform all your attacks. So if you're swinging your lightsaber, you wanted it to go to the left, you would go to the left. If you wanted it to go to the right, you went to the right. But it was so loose of a mechanic that if you wanted to do like an upward swing, it just you'd miss targets. It was just you really couldn't get the type of attack that you wanted, and blocking was so bad that most of the time you just held your sword in the front and you just got whacked from the sides and you died. You'd get stuck behind things. Hit collision was really off. You'd get melded with enemies, and since the friendly fire from the enemies wouldn't, even if they shot one of their own, he wouldn't die. So your character and the enemy character would get frozen together, and had to restart the game because you couldn't attack because you couldn't move, and they couldn't kill you because they were shooting their own guy. It was just even the graphics were bad on that one. As much as I love Star Wars, that was one just to stay away from. All right. And then on the good side, this one, man, I was really torn about whether to put this one here or further down. But I think this is probably the best place for it. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Now, this came out in 2004. It was on, well, I guess now it's on Nintendo Switch, PC, Xbox, PS4. But for all the good stuff in it, it still really wasn't. It really wasn't finished, and it had bugs. But how good was this game? That even though that it wasn't really finished and had all these bugs, it just the story really came through. Um, yeah, it's just man, it was just so good. BioWare redid it. Obsidian did it first, and I mean it was good. The story, absolutely one of the best around, and such as movies and books. If you don't have a good story, no one cares what the graphics are like. No one's going to care about that awesome special effects scene. Oh, you have this high-priced, well-known talent performing in this movie. If the writing isn't there, people don't care, and it's just going to get panned. Hey, Isaac, welcome in. Appreciate you coming in tonight. So Knights of the Old Republic 2, one of the best written games that is out there. Number 7 on the worst list. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to skip that this one because it was on the Game Boy Advance. And that was Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. Again, Game Boy Advance, not a lot of people, it's an older handheld system. Some people might not have played that. Should have been on one of those electronic football machines rather than a Game Boy Advance, because it could have possibly been better over there. So we're going to go with this one. And this is Star Wars, and I'm going to mispronounce the name, Masters of Teräs Käsi. And it could be really, really massacring that one. It is a fighting game that I really, really, really wanted to enjoy. I like fighting games. I'm not always the best at them, Mortal Kombat type things. But this one, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It looked like that they took Virtua Fighter, probably the original, maybe 2, and put a Star Wars skin on it, and then just threw it up against the wall a few times and left the combat system as it is. It was so generic. It was almost unplayable. I really hated this game. The balance was not set right. The characters looked like they were made from Stan Winston and the dinosaurs kind of thing. It just herky jerky. Anytime that you wanted to pull off a really cool combo move, the game would stop, and then the move would run so fast, and then you would freeze. The force powers that they had just would completely just overrun the game. So if you're Vader or Luke, you won. It didn't matter. It just was really, 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 really bad. All right, so number 7 on my good list, and I still think this might be too low as well. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Loved the story. I liked where they had it set. It kind of fills in a little bit of the blanks. Of course, you have Cal Kestis surviving Order 66. And you see his attempt to rejoin the Jedi and build them back up. One of the knocks against it is that it was, some of the characters were really repetitive and really stupid. You would have a monster come up out of the ground and knock you off the cliff, and if you didn't meditate at the spot, 16 doors ago, then you have to start way back over there. They just some of the combat in it was just really repetitive, but it was fun. The level design was really good. I liked some of the new options that they had for force powers, the combat, the ability to climb on walls and climb on top of things and interact with the scenery was really cool. And of course, you had BD1, which who doesn't love BD1? But so there we go. There's number 7, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That was 2019 PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Absolutely loved that game. All right, so number 6 on the worst. I'm gonna have to start going through these a little bit faster. This one I'm gonna have to talk about, and I'm not even. I think this was on a Game Boy, maybe one of the Nintendos, and this is Star Wars Yoda Stories. So you have this game called Star Wars Yoda Stories. Came out in 1999, I believe. 97. And it was kind of like an RPG. Sort of, kind of. But it was just so dull. And you played as Luke Skywalker. You had to solve objectives. There was really nothing to fight, nothing to really do except for look for this objective. And yeah, it was so bad. And I never quite understood why it was called Yoda Stories if you didn't get Yoda. It just really didn't make any sense. It was just really bad. I didn't understand it. It kind of looked like a Super Nintendo game, and your character of Luke had like one of those fat head football posters where you have his body that is about an inch tall and his head is 2 inches tall. Just was really, really bad. All right, on with the good. On with the good. All right, number 6. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader, which came out on the GameCube. Possibly one of the best flight games that has been released on a console system. Not quite as complicated as TIE Fighter, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The flying was really, really cool. The graphics were amazing for the time. You got to fly everything from Millennium Falcon to an X-Wing to a Naboo N1 fighter, TIE fighters. It was one of the best GameCube games ever made. Absolutely amazing. The missions were progressively harder. The combat was great. The story that it told, amazing. Yes, best GameCube game I think ever. All right, number 5. Let's see. Where to go from here? All right. Lego Star Wars, The Yoda Chronicles. Just nearly unplayable. The graphics were not good. The level design was awful. They tried to tie into the TV show, but they didn't tie it into the TV show. It's an action strategy game, but there's no strategy to it. The action it just didn't work. The camera, you couldn't look around or anything. It was a fixed camera, so whatever you were looking at is what you're looking at. It was wow. It was just bad. I really can't even describe it too much more than that. You would go into the walls. The camera was set at such a weird angle that your character is supposed to go up to toggle something, and you couldn't see what you're supposed to toggle because there was a wall in the way, and you're kind of looking through the wall. It was just bad. All right, back onto the good side. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. So this is another Kyle Katarn game. Jedi Knight saw him be able to use the Force, and Jedi Outcast is where he really took off. It gave you tons of weapons, lots of levels that were really good size to explore. The lightsaber combat at the time was absolutely amazing. I think this is the first one that they gave you different stances for lightsabers. It was so good that even if you were up against stormtroopers, each combat felt like it was unique. It just was a really cool game. The story was really good as well, and who doesn't want to just have the ability to force choke people anytime you want to, and then throw them off a cliff because that was the fun thing to do. So yeah, number 5, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. I'm gonna try to speed up here a little bit more. I'm not really enjoying talking about the bad games just because it's hard talking about bad games. I love games so much that it's just hard. So I'm just going to mention a few more of the bad ones. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It's just the characters are herky jerky all over the place. The player paths hit collision is really off. It just wow, yeah, it's really bad. It was so hard to move around in this game. Even the cut scenes were grainy, and it just didn't. Yeah, graphics bad, camera bad, level design bad. It had an older save system rather than like a save point. You had to have a password. It just was just really horrible. Number 2, Star Wars Jedi Arena. This one looked like it was on an Atari, although I don't believe it was. There was no real point or explanation on what was going on. You basically waved a stick back and forth, and if it hit something, you got points. It just, I don't know. It was just bad, but not near as bad as the number 1 game. Number 1 game for me was the Xbox 360 Star Wars Kinect. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have ever played on the 360 Kinect. It started off like a cool peripheral, something fun to use. But this game was just horrible. Friends trying to play it, and you basically just run around the room and run into each other more than you do anything on the screen. The motion control for this lightsaber just did not work right. The levels were horrible. The best thing going for it was graphics, and they weren't even that good. It's just, it was, you had mini games left and right, and they had nothing to do with the actual Star Wars content that was there. And it just, for having to need to buy a Kinect, it just really wasn't worth it, and had such high hopes for it, because who doesn't want to really act like that they're swinging a lightsaber? We all do it. But yeah, no. So there's the worst games. Tired of talking about worst games, so we'll just continue on with the good games. Started left off with number 5, which was the Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. Number 4, Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. This is a Lego game. Came out a couple of years ago. It is absolutely amazing. You play through the greatest hits of all Star Wars in the form of Lego. The voice acting is amazing. Um, they made everything match up the way that it should have. Combat mechanics were a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, it was just it's amazing in that Star Wars Lego or that Lego comedy gameplay amazingness. Yeah, it absolutely must have. You can get in and out of a game really fast. So if you just have a few minutes, you want to have some fun, you can throw it on and play a little bit. Just really, really, really good. So number 3 on the list for good games, possibly one of my favorite games of all time, Star Wars TIE Fighter. I mean, who doesn't want to fly a TIE Fighter? This came out in 1994. It was on Windows, DOS, Mac. It was the sequel to Star Wars X-Wing. You were a TIE pilot who had to navigate Imperial intrigue while shooting down many, many, many X-Wings, Y-Wings, and Z-95s. The story was really, really good. It went through the original trilogy. So have another must be another accident on the highway. The fire trucks and fire marshals are heading out that way. Anyway, but yeah, the mechanics were just really good. It felt like it was an arcade game that you played at home. Was not only that, we got to play in the TIE Defender as well. Man. If you're a fan of the dark side, you'll be a fan of Star Wars TIE Fighter. Oh, must be a really bad one. There goes more. All right. Oh man, if you can ever find, I think they had it on Steam not too long ago, Isaac. And you could still play it. It's an amazing game, absolutely amazing. In fact, let me look that up real quick, see if that's still around. Yes, there is a full remake right now. Looks like it is on Steam, so they remade it and put it back out. So if you have a Steam account, you can definitely get in on all that fun and excitement. Number 2 on this list, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Fallen Order. And this one picks it where Fallen Order left off about 5 years later in the timeline. You get to see all your friends that you made in Fallen Order. And yeah, you get to explore. And as you explore, not only are these levels huge, and so many secrets that are in there, they really put the best foot forward to explain some of the mythology behind some of the characters and do a fantastic job of tying it in. It's one of the best sequels that I have seen in a very long time. I'm almost guessing that we're almost to the point where we're going to get Cal Kestis in a live action TV show, just because these games are so good. Graphically, it's amazing to look at. The sound quality, huge. Customization of lightsabers, so you can have a single blade, you can have a Darth Maul style double blade, or you could break it apart and have dual wield lightsabers. You can change colors and components, your outfits, you can make it look however you want. Absolutely fantastic story. Definitely a must play. So hopefully everyone has played the Fallen Order games. If not, you can still grab them. They're still a lot of fun. And then, of course, number one on the list is the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Came out 2003 on Xbox and PC. This is set, it's thousands of years before the events of the movies. I'm still not entirely positive whether or not it's canon or not. Parts of it they moved into it, some of it that they haven't. But it is, the story is deep and immersive. It's one of the premier RPG games. They're even talking about remaking it. In fact, I think they might have already done that. They definitely talked about it and might already be in the process of remaking the game. So amazing. It's just, if you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, find it, or wait for the remake to come out. Absolutely amazing. So there is my top 10 list. Mainly the good. Did mention 10 of the bad. But what do we have coming up for Star Wars? We have, I know that they've definitely mentioned 2 games that are coming out. Ubisoft is making a game called Star Wars Outlaws. I'm not entirely sure what this game is all about. It's supposed to be open world, but from it, not necessarily to me open world, because you can't go and do what you want to do when you want to do it. It's open world where you're given an objective and you could explore the area around and do other things. You don't necessarily have to do that objective, but in order to get to the next part of the story, you have to finish everything that's in that level. And then there's Star Wars Hunters that's coming out. That's a team-based multiplayer game. Supposed to be coming out sometime in 2024 as well. So there's definitely some really cool games that are coming out. I'm still waiting for 1313. I doubt we'll ever get it, but would absolutely love for it too. Isaac said remake got pushed back to the back burner. It still has such a great following. I'm sure it will get done eventually. But there's my list. I know I'm supposed to have a show next week. I'm not entirely sure on the topic yet. Things kind of got jumbled around. So I guess it'll be a surprise or a potluck or whatever. You never know. Might have a guest on or two and see what kind of shenanigans we can get up to. But really appreciate the chat coming in. Ubaldo, Isaac, Ro, Cam, Andrew. Really appreciate you guys. Spencer. Couldn't do it without you. Always do it for you. Just enjoy talking pop culture with all of you guys. But yeah, until next week. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Rosemary. We're just finishing up here. I will give a quick list, rundown for the top 10 games of all time for Star Wars. For you, Star Wars Dark Forces, number 10. Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is the older one, not the remakes that EA did, although that would probably be an honorable mention just because of Inferno Squad being as fantastic as it is. So the original Battlefront 2, number 9. Knights of the Old Republic 2, number 8. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, number 7. Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader, number 6. Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, 5. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is number 4. Star Wars TIE Fighter, number 3. Jedi Survivor, number 2. And Knights of the Old Republic was number 1. A couple of other honorable mentions, of course, Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2, because kind of hard to have a sequel and not not mention it, just to carry on the story. A little bit clunky. It's kind of an in-between game for me. But I did like some of the concepts that they had put forward in there. But yeah, so next week we'll see what we have next coming up. Again, I think I might have a guest or two. So we just might have some shenanigans and see what's going on in the world and talk about it. So until next time, do really appreciate you guys. Have fun. Be kind to each other.